Stop fertilizing your roses. If your rose gives you one beautiful flush in spring, then practically stops blooming by summer, adding more fertilizer may be the last thing it needs. Because there are small things you may be doing every week that are quietly telling your rose, stop producing flowers. And the frustrating part? Some of them look like perfectly good gardening habits. You water, you feed, you prune, you remove the dead flowers, you do everything you're supposed to do, and end up with a healthy green bush and fewer roses. But what if the problem isn't that your rose needs more? What if you're doing the right things at the wrong time? There are 6 small habits that can dramatically improve how long a repeat blooming rose keeps flowering. Most cost almost nothing. And the last one is the habit I'd check before touching your pruners. Because one wrong pruning decision can leave you wondering all summer where your flowers went. Let's start with something you can check tomorrow without buying anything. Number 6, the light test. Tomorrow, watch your rose, not the flowers, watch the shadows. Check it in the morning, again around noon, then in the afternoon. Because your rose may not be getting as much direct sunlight as you think. The research in our source material puts roughly 6 hours of direct sunlight as a minimum for reliable repeat flowering, with more being better. And this is where gardeners often solve the wrong problem. The rose isn't blooming, so they fertilize it. Nothing changes, so they add more. But flowers cost energy, and the rose gets that energy from sunlight. If it's spending half the day in shade, fertilizer can't make up the difference. That's why a rose can look healthy and green, yet produce very few flowers. So don't guess. Watch where the shadows fall. Count the hours of actual direct sun hitting the plant. If you're getting 4 hours because a tree blocks the afternoon sun, you've found a problem that no bottle of bloom booster can fix. And morning sun gives you another advantage. It helps the foliage dry. That matters because sometimes the next problem is being created by something you're doing yourself. Number 5, the dry leaf rule. Go outside after sunset tonight, touch the leaves of your rose. If they're wet, ask yourself one question. Why? Rain? Dew? Or your own watering? Black spot is one of the major diseases affecting roses, and the Clemson Extension information cited in the source material explains that its spores need prolonged leaf wetness to germinate and infect. So imagine soaking your rose in the evening. The leaves are wet, the sun disappears, that moisture sits there for hours. You've just created conditions that can favor fungal disease. The simple fix: water the soil, not the rose. Direct water toward the root zone. Keep the foliage as dry as practical. The RHS gives the same basic recommendation: water around the base rather than repeatedly wetting the leaves and flowers. And don't confuse frequent watering with good watering. The goal isn't a constantly wet surface. The goal is enough moisture reaching the roots. So we've solved 2 pieces. Enough light, better moisture management. But both depend on what's happening underneath the plant. Look down, because the next mistake can look like good gardening. Number 4, the donut rule. You've seen it. A neat mound of mulch piled around the base of a plant. It looks finished. But around your rose, don't build a volcano, build a donut. Organic mulch can help conserve moisture, moderate soil temperature, and suppress weeds, but keep it away from the rose canes. The RHS guidance in our source material recommends mulching around roses while leaving space around the stems. Spread the mulch across the root zone, then pull it back from the base. The goal is simple: stable soil without a permanently damp collar around the plant. That stability matters. Bare soil can dry quickly in hot weather. Then you water. Then it dries again, mulch slows that cycle, and helps keep the root environment more consistent. You don't need perfect soil. You need soil that isn't constantly swinging between extremes. And now you might be thinking, fine, good light, good watering, good mulch. Now we fertilize. Yes, but the timing matters more than most people realize. Number 3, the feeding window. The important question isn't, do roses need fertilizer? They do. The better question is, when can the plant actually use it? The RHS recommends feeding roses during active growth, and research notes that repeat flowering roses can benefit from additional feeding after their first major flush. Think in terms of a window. Spring arrives, new growth starts. Buds form, flowers open. Then the plant has to rebuild for the next round. That's when nutrition supports what the plant is already trying to do. But more isn't automatically better. Too much nitrogen can give you exactly what you don't want. A huge green rose bush with very few flowers. Lots of leaves, lots of stems. Not enough blooms. So don't chase flowers with fertilizer. Feed according to the plant's growth cycle. And don't keep pushing tender new growth toward winter. The University of Illinois Extension recommends stopping fertilizer applications around mid-August so plants can begin preparing for colder weather. Which brings us back to the opening. When your rose stops blooming, fertilizer isn't necessarily the answer. Sometimes it's just the easiest thing to reach for. At this point, you might think we've solved the problem. We haven't. Because your rose can have enough sunlight, proper watering, good mulch, and appropriate nutrition, and still stop flowering. Why? Because those things create the conditions for blooms. They don't determine what happens when a bloom finishes. That's where your pruners come in. And I want you to picture something. You've spent all spring feeding and watering this rose. It's grown beautifully. The foliage looks healthy. Then August arrives. You're staring at a green bush wondering, where did all the flowers go? Sometimes that problem didn't begin in August. It began months earlier with one pruning decision. So if you've got a spent bloom outside right now, don't cut it yet. Look at the stem. Number 2, the flowering cut. Follow the spent flower down the stem. Find a strong leaf cluster. Then look for a healthy bud pointing outward, away from the center of the plant. That's where you're looking to make the cut. Illinois Extension recommends cutting faded flowers back to an outward-facing bud above a 5 or 7 leaflet leaf on many modern roses. But don't turn that into a blind rule. 5 leaflets aren't magic. The plant's strength matters. A weak or newly established rose still needs its healthy foliage. Those leaves are producing the energy the plant needs. So instead of asking, "Where do I cut off the dead flower?" ask, "Where do I want the next shoot to grow?" That's the real purpose of the cut. Remove the spent flower. Choose a strong outward-facing bud. Then direct new growth away from the crowded center. Now the pieces are starting to connect. Sunlight supplies energy, water supports the roots, mulch stabilizes the soil. Timely feeding supports active growth, and strategic deadheading helps a repeat blooming rose produce another round. It sounds like we've solved it, but there's one problem. What if your rose isn't supposed to respond the way the rose in that tutorial does? That's the final piece, and it changes everything. Number 1, know your rose. Here's the mistake that can make every other rule in this video wrong. It's not fertilizer, it's not water, it's not sunlight, it's the rose itself. Not every rose flowers the same way. Some modern roses repeat throughout the growing season. Others produce one major flush. Some flower primarily on new growth. Others depend on older wood. And if you prune all of them using one universal rule, you can remove the very wood that was supposed to give you flowers. University of Illinois Extension points out an important distinction. Modern repeat blooming roses, including hybrid teas, grandifloras, floribundas, and miniatures, produce their best flowers on new or current season wood. But some old garden roses, including once-blooming albus, gallicas, centifolias, damasks, and moss roses, produce their flowers on older wood. And there's another wrinkle. Some old garden roses are repeat bloomers and can flower on both new and old wood. Suddenly, a lot of contradictory rose advice makes sense. One gardener says, "Cut it back." Another says, "Don't touch it until after flowering." They may both be right. They're talking about different roses. Imagine following a pruning tutorial perfectly. You make every cut exactly where you're told. Spring arrives. Your rose produces beautiful green growth, but the flowers never come, so you fertilize, you water more, you change the mulch. Nothing fixes it, because the mistake happened months earlier. You remove the flowering wood. That's why identification comes first. Find the plant tag, look up the cultivar. And if you're still unsure, ask your local extension service. 5 minutes of identification can save you an entire season of flowers. Before making a major cut, ask, what kind of rose am I actually growing? Because the right advice applied to the wrong rose is still the wrong advice. Now you can see how these 6 habits connect. Light provides the energy, water supports the roots without unnecessarily wetting the foliage, mulch stabilizes the root zone, timely feeding supports active growth, deadheading directs new growth on repeat bloomers, and knowing the rose tells you which pruning rules actually apply. So the next time your rose stops flowering, don't immediately ask, what should I add? Ask, what part of the flowering cycle have I interrupted? That's the better question. And it can save you a lot of fertilizer, and potentially an entire season of frustration. One clarification about the title. Blooming all year long doesn't mean every rose will literally flower 12 months of the year. Your variety matters, your climate matters, your growing zone matters. Some roses are naturally once blooming, others repeat. The goal isn't to force a rose to do something it isn't built to do. It's to get the longest, healthiest flowering season your particular rose can produce. Don't try to fix 6 things tomorrow. Pick one rose. Walk outside and diagnose it. How much direct sun does it actually get? Are you wetting the leaves when you water? Is mulch touching the canes? When was it last fed? Does it have a spent bloom ready to deadhead? And most importantly, what kind of rose is it? Then make one change, not 6, 1. Maybe you change how you water. Maybe you pull the mulch away from the cane. Maybe you make one thoughtful deadheading cut. Then watch what happens. Because good rose care isn't about doing more, it's about doing the right thing at the right time. And now you know why I started this video by saying, stop fertilizing your roses. I wasn't saying roses don't need food. I was saying fertilizer is the easiest thing to reach for when you haven't diagnosed the real problem. If the rose doesn't have enough light, fertilizer can't create sunlight. If you're soaking the foliage every evening, fertilizer can't keep those leaves dry. And if you're following the wrong pruning strategy for your particular rose, you can feed it perfectly and still lose the flowers you were waiting for. So this weekend, choose one rose, watch it, identify it. Then make one good decision and tell me in the comments, what type of rose are you growing and what month does it usually stop blooming? Give me the variety and the month. Because if enough gardeners are struggling with the same rose at the same point in the season, that's the next problem worth solving. And if you want gardening advice that explains the why, instead of giving you another list of products to buy, subscribe. Because the best gardeners don't just know what to do, they know why the plant is responding. And once you understand that, your garden gets a whole lot easier.